What's going on, game players? How are you, brothers and sisters, doing today? I have to say, today we have a very, very special guest who it's a little different for the podcast because he deals in the esports realm. And on the podcast, we've never had anyone with any insight into this other side of gaming. So today, I want to introduce to you guys, he is an esports executive, a corporate partnership manager for the esports team, the Knights. I am proud to introduce to you guys Mr. Liam Brown. How's it going for you, sir? Welcome to the show.
Well, really happy to be here. That was a really good introduction. I like the dramatic pauses. It definitely helps with the moment. But listen, thanks for having me, man. Really excited to be here.
It is greatly appreciated from me to you that you decided to come on and to give us that may not be 100% versed in the esports world a little more knowledge, about it, because I know that it's something that is really come on the scene over the last several years, and it's been gaining a lot of momentum, with events that have been huge, sellout crowds, and just really taking the gaming world, and not only just the gaming world, but the world itself by storm, and just growing in popularity at a very, very high rate. So I definitely look forward to getting into that part of the esports realm with you. But before we actually get into that, Liam, I actually just wanted to ask you, starting at the beginning of your story, of your journey, what was the console? Because I know all of us have that one console that gets us into gaming. For you, Liam, what was that console that introduced you to gaming and made you say, wow, this is something that I can really get into?
I think it was PlayStation 2. It was PlayStation 2, hands down. I actually got started from my family, so I used to play with Madden and Tekken with my dad, which is not what a lot of people would hear. And then from there, I started trading games over the weekend with some of my friends in school. And this is around, third grade and fourth grade. And we would bring the games in on Friday morning. We would swap them and have them over the weekend. And I felt like I made out like a bandit. One, because I was getting a new game for the weekend. And two, every Friday, we would always get one large cheese pizza and go to Blockbuster and get a movie. So I know this is how we did it in the 2000s. Okay, so at the end of the 90s. So then we would watch the movie as a family Friday night. I try to wake up as early as possible Saturday morning, and I would play whatever game it was that I had traded, and then we would clean the house as we always did on Saturday. We would run errands. And then we would just get that, and then I would just try to game as much as possible over the course of the weekend. So my parents were very traditional. I was only allowed electronics on the weekends, and it helped. It definitely, I feel like it helped with gaming because I appreciated it so much more. It made every session worth it, and it kept me itching for more. And also it instilled in me the values of balance. So I'll game. I don't care. This is awesome. But I know I still gotta clean the house. I have homework, all these other things. So that was my start, with gaming. And then it evolved into, Wii and then Xbox 360. And I ended up just falling in love with Xbox, simply because I loved how the controllers really filled my hands.
Those analog sticks were a game changer. The setting of them, incredible.
Yeah, and just how well, this back then we just saw it as a crazy console. Now what we're seeing with the rumors and stuff like that, Microsoft never turned a profit with any Xbox.
Man, how crazy is that, Lee?
Yeah, I'm you know what? Let's face it. Dwayne The Rock Johnson cameoing when like Xbox like dropped. That probably set us back a lot, but it's honestly it's just so insane like how it's the rise and fall. But PlayStation 2 going on to Wii, and then I was always console agnostic, and I could appreciate the console exclusives for different ones, and the graphics and the multiplayer focus versus single player focus for different gaming titles. One thing that I think that gaming is lacking right now, though, is that solo experience that can be shared, but doesn't have to be shared. So there's so many single player games. I'll literally just go over here.
Yeah,
so,
I'm looking at them. I see them.
Yeah. So okay. So this is a really good example. So the Far Cry games, they were online co-op. Now that's cool until you realize it's not local co-op. Yeah. So the whole era of split screen that we had for the longest time, it's over. It's over. Like the only ones we have recently that are really good local co-op split screen are, Borderlands.
Yeah, that's still around.
And I don't know, but maybe the new Battlefront remaster that's coming out to the PlayStation, that could be it. And then also like Cyberpunk. Like you talk about a game that was like, sure, single player, but you have to be so connected to stuff like God, like what if I don't want to update people on my progress in these different things? What if I don't want the interconnectivity? And that's something that like being in esports, you don't really hear that point of view because everybody wants to be able to brag about their success. Everybody wants to be able to do, but like some of the things that I was always huge for single player games.
That's me too.
Or local co-op games because again, I play with my dad. I want my dad to be able to join me.
Right.
Yeah. So that was my entrance into the space.
You know what? Speaking, you said something very interesting about the local aspect of it. Playing competitively. Were you ever a GoldenEye fan from the N64?
No, I wasn't, but I can appreciate because I have played a little bit, but that's more recent. Like
okay.
I didn't play back then, but I hear about how legendary that was just from people who are older than you and I put together. Like you just hear about how that just had everybody by a chokehold, and it's insane. It's awesome,
incredible,
but it's now we have so many options and we don't appreciate the level that of the releases that used to come out.
I agree with that, Liam. I absolutely do, and I think that as a result of that, games they don't sell. I always sit there, Liam, and I wonder. I say, it's 50, 60 million PlayStation 5s out here, and games are having a hard time getting to 2 and 3 million sales. It seems insane. And I think that it does kind of fall back, in my opinion. I could be a little on my own side with this, but I do feel like sometimes it comes from the market just being flooded with so many different games to choose from. It is a good thing, but at the same time, when you have so many games coming out at one point, at one time, it takes away the shine from this game, that game, that game. Now, somebody can say that, well, the good games will always rise to the top, but I don't think that always happens. I don't think so.
No. Yeah, you look at how, look at even like GTA. Like that is a game that they just, GTA and Skyrim, oh my God. Those are two games that they just re-released so much. And it sucks because they found a working model and they found their cash cow. Now that's not even me saying it. That's the voice actors who go on interviews now. Yeah, they're just like, they found their cash cow. That's why it took so long. Yeah, that's why. So what you have is this, not even a balance now. It's more so the chasing of the replay value and the amount of money that we can get from a gaming title and the community around it, versus just making a good game.
Exactly.
That's one of the things that I think Riot did pretty well, is that they were always player focused, because you look at how do you make an esports worthy title? Well, you got to do the launch correctly. You got to make sure you're managing the audience the fan base correctly. But then there's also constant maintenance, constant like patches to the game. Make sure that if somebody's experiencing a glitch, you look into it, making sure that there's the anti-cheat. And there's not a lot of companies that look into. I don't know. There's not a lot of companies that care as much about that kind of thing. And like Valorant's anti-cheat is insane. Like it's so robust. I think like I agree completely with you. Like there's just the market is flooded with so many different things, and that's good and bad. It's good because everybody can get something that they want, which that's one thing I love about gaming. But at the same time, it's like you gotta sift through a bunch of silver to find the gold. The silver's still good, but what if I want the gold?
Exactly. Absolutely, Liam. 100%, man. Let me ask you, Liam. You know, was there ever a time that you had aspirations of, and I'm probably speaking from my own perspective here, but I would love to get yours. Did you ever have aspirations early on to be in the gaming industry, to actually, you know, make video games, or, you know, actually be hands-on with the development?
Yeah, as like, but from like the game developer side. Or like a more of a behind the scenes role, which is what it evolved to. I mean, obviously, like, you know, I'm here, but I would see people at like E3 giving like these larger press conferences. Obviously, like their E3 has always been big.
Oh, it was legendary. I hated to see it go. You know, like, I hated to see it die, man. Oh, it killed me. Took a bit of my soul, brother.
Because I would like I would watch, again, this shows how old I am. I would watch G4 TV.
Oh, me too, Liam, me too.
Yeah.
Bro. Man, I'm 45,
then I would watch
Liam.
X-Play. Yeah. I would watch X-Play's coverage of E3. And for me back then, I would see how they would film it. I would see like a packed stadium. It's probably like an auditorium. You know, gaming had its trajectory. But I remember seeing 1 year, and it was like the new Assassin's Creed at that time. It was like Assassin's Creed 2 and one of the Dead or Alive games, because I just remember seeing that. And then there was also, I think, a Ninja Gaiden game also was coming out at that same time. But I was just like, I was watching, I was like, this is insane. As you see how packed it is with all people that like looked like me, because I was really nerdy. I didn't care. Like I looked like me. They wore glasses like me. They were looking at these games that I would enjoy, and I'm just like looking, I was like, this is insane. And I would see how the crowds would cheer for the developer or the president of the developer companies giving the presentation on, hey, this is all the cool stuff we have going on. This is how we're going to help you have fun soon. And I would just see that. I was like, man, that's so cool. Little did I know that a lot of these bigger developers were quietly acquiring and then firing all of the, you know, different developers. They're acquiring small developers. Like, this is beef I still have. Hang on.
What you got there, Liam? What you got there, brother?
So Transformers. You remember High Moon Studios?
Absolutely.
I remember High Moon Studios.
That is a classic you have in your hands right there.
So Fall of Cybertron and then War for Cybertron, obviously. But the third game we were supposed to get a Beast Wars game, like a full-on Beast Wars game.
Now, I didn't even know that, Liam.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Oh my God, dude! Like, you look at what they had planned, and again, same thing with Disney acquiring LucasArts.
Yeah,
like you get these projects where they plan stuff out for the next year. So, with High Moon, they had the third Transformers game. It was going to be Beast Wars focused. It was going to be on Earth, and we were going to be able to play as like a lot of different characters, not just from like G1, but also like the Beast Wars characters that we saw in the 90s. That was insane to me thinking of that. And then and then they got acquired and then they got shut down. Yeah. Then you look at like with Star Wars, we were supposed to have Star Wars. You remember 1313?
Everybody was so excited about that, Liam.
Exactly.
It was incredible when we saw it, man. I will say though, Liam, brother, who is it? Vince, Zampella. His team over at EA, I'm forgetting their name. They made Titanfall 2, Titanfall, but they also made the new Star Wars games that we have today. Not Force Unleashed. Golly, why am I forgetting?
Battlefront?
No, not
Or
Battlefront.
Jedi, was it Jedi Survivor?
Jedi Survivor, and Jedi Fallen Order, I believe. Those two, they kind of actually, and I have those two games.
Well, we already know which one was the best Star Wars game.
Now, what you got up there, Liam? You got all kinds of stuff up on the shelf.
Just keep voting stuff. No, the Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
Oh, absolutely, man! I just did a video game theater on that game.
Best.
Absolutely
it will
incredible.
Always be the best. You could because it was the perfect. It was now it did follow the cliche of you play like in the trailers. I remember the trailers. It was just like you get to be the bad guy, and then you end as the good guy. Which I mean, I guess everybody has to follow the journey of the hero because as an American society, we're locked in this constant state of we just need to retell the story of the hero a million times, and people will they'll never not buy this. Anyway, so the bad ending to this was still cool. You get to kill Darth Vader, so that was insane. And he was 16 or 14 at the time.
Yeah,
to be that strong and
at that age.
I was just man, I remember that was that age, and I could bench 4 plates and rip a car in half and bring a Star Destroyer out of the sky with the Force. You're like, what? Who is this guy?
Oh man, so Liam, with that now I do know I want to kind of just fast forward just a little bit here, Liam. I know that you did, if I'm not mistaken, you attended Pittsburgh University, right?
Yep.
And it wasn't, and this is where we get into the esports side of things. I believe it wasn't until your senior year where you had found a love and passion of leveraging gaming as a way of bringing people together.
Yeah, you put it perfectly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
it was at that time, 2021, I was the first year back from COVID. So the following year they would have a lot stricter COVID restrictions and stuff like that, but everything was still pretty strict. And nobody was there was never anybody on campus. There wasn't even people the maintenance workers, they were barely ever on campus. So I was working for a tech company at the time, CDW, and they were doing a big push with their Lenovo Legion line for esports connectivity for different colleges and universities, because they were telling me that the esports conversation still hasn't stopped, even with COVID, because it's COVID compliant. Everybody is just dependent on their own internet connection, and nobody has to be in person. It helps, but they don't have to be. So I was going through my head. I was like, wow, this is awesome. I saw Pitt Greensburg had one of our branch campuses, and now I went to Maine. That's my humble brag. No, I was kidding. But I went to main campus, and the Greensburg campus, they had their whole varsity esports program. The D1, they had a D1 esports program being developed, and it was started by one of the guys who worked in the computer lab, which, as you do. And his sister was running other esports programs at other colleges and universities. So I would talk to him. I would call him on the phone all the time. And I would try to get something like that bigger and better at Pittsburgh's main campus. And I found out that the athletics department didn't want anything to do with it, which thank God. Thank God. With the NCAA not running college esports, I think that's really, really good.
Yeah.
And I found that campus recreation was overseeing it because it was with clubs, and there was around 4 or 5 different clubs still going. And I got them all on a Zoom call. God, this was college, so we had to use Zoom. And I got everybody on a call. I got the guy who oversaw all the clubs and gaming from campus recreation, and I got the 4 club presidents with me on the call. And I said, look, guys, what can we do? All to see that he had told me, yeah, well, the university really doesn't want to invest anything in this right now. It's just not really a good time, and all this other stuff. I'm like, dude, you just spent so much money on renovations for the school.
Yeah.
You guys just published your new 5-year plan for the university, and nobody wanted any of this. Like literally nobody wanted facelifts on these classic architecture that drew a lot of students to the university. No, we didn't ask you to renovate this one street, to buy this one street, so that not only traffic was worse, but also crossing the street was worse. It just looked good.
Yeah.
So I was kind of at a cross. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this now. So then I was looking for different esports teams to like. I was like, well, what can I do here? I found that we had an esports team in my city. So we still, as Pitt students, we had usage of the bus system with our student ID. So I found out where their offices were. I found out who I did a little bit of like research, as anybody should when they're motivated to work with somebody.
Absolutely.
And I was like, I know I want to do this. I know that I want to work with this team. So I get in the bus. I go from campus over to their offices over in the North Shore. Their offices in the North Shore were in the same building as the Steelers, so it had security. And I was like, oh boy. And I'm like, hey, I have my manila. And now here's the thing: I have a manila envelope, my resume. I've rewritten like 4 times. My cover letter I've written 5 times. Rewritten 5 times. I've got like Pitt face masks for like some of the staff if they want it. I've got my cover letter, a white paper. I've written, like, I've got all this stuff.
You came prepared.
I know. I'm like, dude, I have all my hopes and dreams just in this packet, and now there's security, and now I'm like, oh god. So I'm like, I just have mail for the CEO of the Knights, and they're like, oh yeah, you just go up. I was like, okay. Now I dressed up. I dressed up really good for this. So that's probably why they didn't think I was a psycho. But I go in, I walk out of the elevator, I turn around, I go to their offices, they're locked. I look in, there's nobody there. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like, I can't even.
Man, oh man.
So I was like, I'm like, all the lights are on in these offices. So I go in, it's the Steelers offices, and there's nobody there, but the door's open. So I go in, and like kind of looking around. This woman who was one of their heads of marketing, she's like, hey, can I help you? And I forget her name, but she will go down in history as like the main person that probably got me to where I'm at. Her act of kindness was amazing. I know. So I was like, hey, are the Knights in? She's like, no, they're all working from home right now because of the pandemic.
Gotcha.
And she has no face mask on. She doesn't care. She's like, no, they don't. She's like, nah, they're all because of COVID. She's like smoking inside. She wasn't. But she's like, I was like, are they still getting their mail? And she's like, oh yeah. And she holds out her hand. She's like, I can give it to them. And I'm like, oh. So I give it to her. I've got my child basically.
Right, exactly. Everything in there. Everything.
I know. And she put it in their mailbox. I walk out of the offices and I like have a panic moment. Like I'm just like, oh, I have an existential crisis. I'm just like, did I just do everything right? Like, what do I do now? And that was in January. I graduate. No, I graduate in April.
Oh,
this was that close to when I graduated. So
3 months.
I'm like, yeah, I don't have time to like mess around. And my parents are beating down my phone, like, who have you been applying to? Like this and that. And I'm like, I've applied to, because, what? Like, I did what nobody should do, and I put all my eggs into one basket.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I got an email back saying, hey, we'd love to schedule time to talk to you. And I get on, and it was with the head of the Knights. And
the head of the Knights.
It was the guy that I had seen in the interviews, the guy who I had like talked on, like looked at on LinkedIn, like all this kinds of stuff. He, I thought it was just going to be like, who the hell are you? He was like, that's what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
We ended up vibing really well, and we talked for like an hour, and I was like, this is awesome. And he was like, I think you do really well in these departments. I'll get you set up with the interviews, but great job on this. And I was just like, oh, I was like, oh my God. He didn't have his camera on. He refuses to this day, even in internal calls, he doesn't keep his camera on. Well, actually,
wow.
But at the time, he was just like, "No, I'm not." He's like, "I'm not turning my camera on for you." And he's like, but that was how I got my official start within esports. So that's my whole story.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. Just listening to your story, it really does. What it does for me, Liam, is it really helps me to see that, everything that happens, it happens for a reason. Because what were the odds? I mean, especially during that time. This is back in what year again, Liam, that you were doing this?
This was in 2021.
2021. So like we know that the pandemic, it was a lot of caution still going on at that time. A lot of people weren't in the office. A lot of people, like you said, even when you went there, it was shut down. It was locked up. But just the fact that, what were the odds of that woman being there at that time? It's incredible.
If she hadn't been there, I would have gone home. I probably would have stayed for a few hours, just knowing the headspace I was in.
Right.
And then I would have gone back the next day, and then the next day, I would have come up with some excuse. I would have worn a fake mustache. There's all to me, when I tell people that story, I hope they have hope in their hearts for their own passions.
Absolutely.
And if they want something to go well, they'll do the research and they'll look into all of the avenues to make it so that happens, so that dream happens. I don't know. We hear it in anime all the time. You put in the work and you'll get the results. Now that's obviously those stories are personified in I have to physically train so I can beat this opponent, because that's what every shonen style anime is. I'm myself. I'm kind of a slice of life anime enjoyer every now and then. But
I love anime. I was a huge fan of anime.
It's
huge fan.
I've been getting into. I can't remember the specific name because I just know the crappy translation of it. It's the power of online shopping, and I get transported to a fantasy world. So this guy gets transported from his salaryman job to a fantasy world. He doesn't have any cool powers like super strength or anything like that. He has an online shopping, so he can bring up the screen for online shop. It's the weirdest thing. So, but he's in a fantasy world, so he brings I don't know, it's Japan, so a carton of milk, and then they'll pay thousands and thousands of gold for it, or he'll just have salt and pepper, and then they'll pay thousands and thousands of gold for it, so but we hear all the time in all of the media that we consume, from the anime to even the video games, you go on this journey of a character, you have to level up your skills and all that stuff to complete your journey. And I just feel like a lot of people take that out, and they just take that and it goes out in one ear out the other, and then instead of paying attention to the lessons that you could have learned with something like this. That's one of the reasons why I'm not going to watch the new Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix with live action. I learned from it. I saw, as a kid, I learned all the lessons I could. This child at the age a child is faced with insurmountable odds, but through sticking to his guns, following his heart, friendship and hard work, he's able to, and teamwork. I feel like teamwork is a better word than friendship, but through teamwork, hard work, he's able to overcome those odds. And that's a really cool story. But I learned from that story. So now I'm trying to use that in what I have now, and that kind of thing. But that's what I hope people get from the story that I tell. I hope they feel hope in their hearts when they go out to chase something, their dreams, because let's take the industry out of the equation. Let's say that I really wanted to work in some other industry. I would hope anybody would put in that same amount of effort to go and keep going, because there was no hope for me. There was no hope for me in that. And there was no hope for me but there was also no hope if I failed.
Right.
So it was choose your hard. Choose it. It's hard to do the setup work, and it's hard to have that embarrassment. We think of it's the meme of I raised my hand to answer the question in class, and boom, I was wrong. Oh, now everybody's gonna hate me. No, it's not like that. It's those small overcoming your fear in the small steps can lead to the great things. And for me, it's okay, I'm going to I'm going to smile and be kind and not be awkward to like the security guards and the front staff. I'm going to come in with enthusiasm. I'm going to, like, even if this doesn't work out, I'm going to see that same bus driver who probably saw me dress up and look like really sad if I failed. I'll go and see that same guy tomorrow if I need to. It's like those little things. I try to personify like what those small fears might be, because like I'm not facing a dragon, I'm facing my own dragon.
Absolutely. Now, Liam, just continuing on with your journey. Now, you've met, with what was his name again? I'm sorry, Liam.
The president of the Knights?
Yes, the president.
Yeah, James O'Connor.
James O'Connor. Gotcha. Now you meet with him, Liam, and if I'm not mistaken, I just want to make sure that this is still accurate. Are you still a corporate partnership manager currently?
I wasn't at that time. No,
Okay.
I started at the coordinator level, and I was working with like a pretty small group. I'm still working with a pretty small group, but I was part of the staff that was responsible for managing the current partnerships that we had, and then making sure that everything was running smoothly. And that's also on like the private sector, and that's also with our strategic partners. So our strategic partners are the Steelers, Pirates, and Wiz Khalifa and his Taylor gang. So making
these
sure
are some big names, man.
Yeah.
Good
So like
grief.
when we go in and like, or even like digitally, like through emails, making sure that they're getting what they asked for and getting like all the things that they need. Making sure that things run smoothly there. And then obviously, like I'm in also a sales role, so trying to make it so that we're propping up the discussion for other entities that want to get into esports, making our valuation to why we're different, why esports is cool, why you need to care. What's the audience demographic? Why is this cool? Why is this cooler than traditional sports? Why like the viewership, like why is this so much cooler? Oh, it's for this, and this, and we can of course get into that. But like, why is this growing, and how can we capitalize off this growth? Well, in this way. Oh, like why does this need to be part? I'm just asking a lot of questions, but like why does this need to be part of your strategy like next year? Why do you need to make room for in your budget for this? So,
Gotcha. Absolutely. Now the Knights Esports Group. You were saying something that was very, very interesting, where you guys do more than just esports. If you could just talk about that a little bit, as far as outside of the esports arena of what the Knights actually cover.
No, that's a great question. So our mentality is grit to greatness. So we try to make it the environment to which anybody who wants to follow their dreams can go pro and become a professional in this space, no matter, as long as they put in the work. So we're technically 3 different companies wrapped up into one. So we are the Knights, which is the competitive entity and the influencer stuff. So that's going to be like the content, multiple competitive teams. We become world champions, regional champions in multiple different multiple different gaming titles. Then that's where a lot of people stop. That's where a lot of people stop. They do merch.
Yeah.
They'll make a Discord community, some YouTube videos. That's where a lot of people stop. That's where we've seen like or podcasts. Some of them maybe. 100 Thieves. They have their podcast thing going. But then on the other 2 fronts is where we really stand out. So on the Knights Arena is the second column. Knights Arena is our full-fledged events and broadcast studio and events arena. So that is where we work very closely with different developers to host our own competitive tournaments and events for prizing at the blessings of different developers. So we do. Yeah. So, but then on the flip, like to expand upon that, we are also the primary, through Knights Arena, we are the primary events platform for Riot Games in all of North America, specifically within Valorant. So Valorant is become kind of the face of competitive first-person shooters, because It's relatively brand safe. There's no blood, multiple different characters. Again, it's an esports title developed by Riot Games. They use the data that they got from League of Legends to make this, so they know how to make a winning platform. And it's just anybody can just hop in. There's multiple different characters. I'm not going to explain why Valorant is cool. I mean, I know Valorant is cool. So but we're also running the entirety of Tier 2 and Tier 3 in multiple different gaming titles. So for Valorant, we run the entirety of the North American Valorant Challengers League. And what that is that it's the Tier 2. You participate in the league. We start with 256 teams. In the entirety of North America. Okay, this isn't like this is big. Gosh. So we then whittle it down over the course of 86. Well, it goes over the course of like several months, but around like 86 broadcast actual days. But we go from 256 teams down to like 2, and those 2 place to the Premier League in the Global League, basically.
Gotcha.
Right. So then they go on to like Ascension, and then all the other leagues to participate there. They become professionals within Valorant. So we also run with Knights Arena our Sakura Cups and like women's only tournaments, because we're really big in bringing as many people into the space so that they can have fun. So we have our Women in Esports initiative, where we run like our Sakura Cups and different like women's only tournaments in Rocket League, Valorant, and some other titles. And just make it so that these teams, because the path to pro within esports is very smoke and mirrors, and for women it's even more so, just because like as a culture, like not a lot of girls gravitate to gaming as a pastime, and the ones that do are either shunned by the subculture, or they it's funny, they're either shunned or they go on to be really successful. Like there's like no, it's like one of the two.
No middle ground too much.
I know it's either they're shunned or they go on to become Pokemon. So anyway, we try to create more stars and make it so that they can earn their stripes within the Knights Arena. So that's the second column of our organization. Then the third is going to be our technology arm. Now I don't know how much I can legally say, just because a lot of the tech is under development, but it is technology to develop esports success. So at the professional level, we have several different gaming developers using our technology platform as an automated management for their competitive leagues. So it allows for the professionals to constantly queue up into games and matches and scrimmages, practices with each other just from Discord. So it is, as far as convenience and ease of use, it's the best go-to tool for those teams. Then for the fans, it allows us to, again, queue up only with people that we know, or just with our friends straight from Discord into the game. And it's awesome. It's just for me, it's just insane working on like some of this technology. So that's probably the most I'm going to say about it. But
I understand. You don't want to get in trouble, Leo.
But it's just really cool just hearing like when I get to tell people like, oh, like I work within esports, and not a lot of people know about that. Like it's not very it's not accepted here like it is in Japan and Korea. Let's face that. But
you think so? It's a much bigger market overseas, you would say, versus in the States.
Oh yeah. You look at like you look at some of the teams, like I was looking at some of the teams over in Korea. They have got their sponsorship like locked down. You look at the human experience. Let's look at like travel, food, housing, like all these kinds of things. These guys have got sponsors in like multiple different categories. They've got like convenience stores, they've got food manufacturers, they've got airlines, they've got
airlines.
Like,
great.
Oh yeah. There was like China, what is it? Korean Air, China Airline, and like a couple of others. Were like sponsoring like esports teams, which makes sense because again, these guys have to travel and stuff like that. But it's just like when I look at what other esports teams do for their sponsors, I just don't understand, because like we as an organization, like we do a lot. I just said like we can do events. We can plug you in to the entire competitive scene. We can make it so that you become synonymous with the path to pro environment within Valorant or Apex or we can also do competitive teams, content, those kinds of things. But then I look at other esports teams and I just see them doing content and competitive representation, so like jersey placement. And that's it.
Wow.
That's all I see them. That's all I see them doing. So I just don't understand, like, what some of these other guys are. Like, I don't know. I don't know. So I'm just seeing. It's very eye opening participating in this space, because then I just see like, oh, I know that we're doing like really cool stuff, but now I have to make it so that other people can see that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, Liam. As far as because that's a very interesting and a good point that you brought up, sponsorships. We know that those are the things that really help with the team, like you said, the travel or the per diem, or the things that are needed to keep the team running. Do you find it a little difficult to find these sponsorships, or do you find it to be not as hard, kind of easy?
So as far as getting the conversation going, it's a lot easier than people realize. When I have the resources that I use, I do the research I do, and getting in contact with these people is relatively easy when they're receptive to it, and whether their teams are receptive to it, and whether they're going to act as that internal champion. That's a whole different question. So what's kind of cool is that I don't. This is funny. My one humble brag about being like in a sales position is that I do get to sample product and like services from like a lot of these different guys that I get to talk to. So I'll be able to brag to like my friends or like my little brother or like my parents that I got like a care package sent to me from this supplement company or this meal prep company. Like it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I'll be able to tell them like, yeah, I get like tickets to go to Steelers games because I have to take clients out.
That's a big perk though, Liam. That's a good perk, man.
Oh, this is so cool. And then like my one other humble brag is that like I get to meet like some of these bigger guys at the Steelers, like the corporate staff who have like run Pittsburgh for like the better part of a couple decades. And I'm like, oh, you're just a normal guy, but you're worth how much? Oh my God. Or I'll just meet some of the football players and I'll just be like, I didn't know they made people your size.
Yeah. I'm sure they're
like,
huge in person.
I'll be like, oh, you're 6'8" and 300 pounds with abs. Yeah, that's cool. But yeah, so as far as like how people are receptive to esports, I have to show them a lot through either statistics or graphs, and I have no problem with doing that. But getting people on that first call or getting them interested first is like is usually pretty. I don't want to say easy. It's usually like I do that pretty well. I feel like I do that pretty well, but because I'll just show them, I'm like, this is the audience that you're talking to. This is the audience that I represent. They're, they gravitate towards being like on average, higher income, higher educated. They're very engaged. And when any company is looking at campaigns, they want that level of engagement, but what a lot of companies are doing is they're just doing the same campaigns every couple of seasons, and then they renew during their fiscal quarter. They approve the budgets without even looking, and because a lot of companies don't even do their marketing in house. They have a marketing department, but a lot of that is just contracted out to different agencies.
Wow.
So they're not actually they're approving a lot of the stuff and making sure the agencies understand, hey, these are our goals. Then the agencies find the cool ways. So you're dealing with two different parties that are like understaffed. I'll just put it that way. A lot of them are understaffed, and they don't want to evaluate a new space. Like it's tough for them. They got to do research on a whole different audience demographic. So I like to make things as easy as possible for those people. I like to just sit them down and be like, hey, like, of course I can send you materials that you can review, but what questions do you have for me that I can answer you right now? And so that we can like clear the air. So again, that getting them on the phone is probably the most important part, and it's sometimes the toughest. But it's I don't have any regrets about choosing this. With the good and the bad, I'll take both. Like this is awesome. I like bragging because my brother's like really young, and I love bragging to like his friends who are in elementary school that I'm like, yeah, I work in video games. And they'll be like, whoa. And I'm like, you're talking to the guy like I've worked with kids for like 10 years. You know, I've babysat, nannied, I've also been like a camp counselor, you know, so I know how cool I can be.
Oh,
I also
man.
like through the nights I also teach like at different schools too. So I'm like,
Good grief, you're a busy man, Liam. Goodness gracious, man.
I try.
Oh, man.
Keeps you out of trouble.
Absolutely, 100%, man. The other thing I wanted to mention too, Liam, is, and you can correct me on this if I'm wrong. I tried to do some research here, Liam, so I just want to make sure, you know. But the Knights, were they established, and this would say quite a bit, were they established back in 2017? Was that the year that they were established?
Yeah, around 2016, 2017, yeah.
So you guys have been going pretty strong for 7 years, going on a decade.
Yeah, it's now I can only speak for the fact that I've been here this long, but like I talked to some of the other guys who've been there from like day one, and it's been a tough road for them, you know, anytime, because what they did was they didn't follow. So the usual plan within esports is like you get a couple of kids together who are good at a game. They go into Canva, they make themselves a logo, and boom, we're an esports team. That's
wow,
pretty much
just
it. And
like
we make some cool content. I mean, look at the FaZe Clan model. They started out just as guys who were really good at Call of Duty. And they were really good at the time, and they were really good at editing. I look at some of their like older videos now. I'm just like, oh god, this is what we thought was content back then, you know. And like they, you know, that they were also back when people didn't even know what esports was. Like they went into when FaZe Clan. They went into when GameStop when Black Ops was coming out, and they were like FaZe up. And then nobody understood what they were, like what this was. That was also back when you could record a video and people would just like stare at you. Now they just ignore you.
They sure do, man. It's
you don't know what's a social experiment anymore. It's like, oh, that guy who's doing a prank, is he going to go punch that guy in the face and call it a prank? Oh, he is. I'm going to leave. That's how like internet videos are nowadays. I'm like, oh, you're an IRL streamer who just like has his fan base by just being horrible to people. Okay, great.
It's very true.
And you're posting flex photos.
Oh my goodness. You know what, Liam? Though, what I want to ask you though, with your job, because I would have to imagine you're actually dealing with a lot of different personalities at one time. Mm-hmm. What are some of the challenges of your job when it comes to the esports arena? What are some of the things that you find to be a little difficult that come with the position that you have?
I think the biggest thing is just getting people to understand the industry and be as passionate about it, or nearly as passionate about it as I am. So turning them from someone who may have seen like a couple of press releases about like esports growth and stuff like that on the news, and turning them into someone who can see the opportunity and opening their eyes to the audience that we represent, the growth that we're expecting and have consistently hit, and how awesome this is. And if they were to help me, I can grow it even more with their help. That's probably my biggest thing, getting people to understand how awesome this is. And whether, I mean, there's very few industries that can't fit into esports, you know, I mean, with the exception of maybe, I don't know, like oil and gas equipment suppliers, you know, oil rig stuff. I don't think that could be like a thing. But like, again, like I'm reaching.
Yeah,
you know, like
of course.
Like endemic and non-endemics, like people affiliated with gaming and tech, or people that aren't, you know, like I always tell people like gamers got to eat. So like grocery stores and meal prep services have yet to really break into it. You know, obviously Aldi has sponsored some European teams, but that's over there. This is still a huge market for them.
Definitely.
Convenience stores.
Yeah, you said over in Japan they actually sponsor them.
Yeah.
over in Japan.
Yeah, don't talk about it. I'm still mad about it.
I gotcha. So it is like a lot of growth here though for other sponsors to come in to make this thing bigger, much bigger than what it is here in the States. It's just like you said, having to do the groundwork, having to make these phone calls happen, get the product in front of people, and just pique their interest with it.
Yeah, making the campaign right for the brand and putting them into the right stuff is definitely probably like number 2. Like making sure that the story is there. Like we have the story that we're telling, but how do we fit them into that? How do we introduce this new character? It's pretty much, I'm an author, basically.
For sure. No, I got you. Definitely. Everybody loves that kind of story, though. Everybody loves a story. So you got to incorporate that to really get a person's attention. A lot of people love the underdog story, So, if you can incorporate that into it, it does make it a lot more interesting. Like with any sports, team or a certain player, it is about their story. Their story does bring something to the game that can keep people watching to see, how this story is going to unfold on the field or, via, esports, on the virtual field, as it were.
Yeah. No, you bring up a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I guess the other thing I would like to ask you though, Liam, is are there, I know like with any sports team, like we were just talking about, I'm sure there are tryouts. Like how would a person go about actually getting on the roster for the Knights? What would that process be?
Yeah, as far as so there's a lot of different pathways in. So first off, as like a team, you want to make sure that you have like your social profile kind of up to date and a highlight reel of all of your best performances and also written record of your performance. Whether it's like, KD ratio, your aim skills, you can always go to aim labs for that. Like aim lab scores, but then also there's on the flip side. So when we look at recruiting talent, we're going to look at skill in the game, but we're also going to look at social following and your, who you are. And then we're going to look at, an extension of who you are. What's kind of the character that you have? What's the character that your team has? Are you guys like easily riled up? Like, do you guys like talk smack during matches? Or are you truly off the rails and like, you're going to like curse and scream and stuff like that, like during interviews? So there's also a huge difference between a competitive player and a content creator. Just because someone's good doesn't mean that they want to be in front of the camera and stuff like that, or create or making content regularly. You have to play that field if you truly want to be a bigger name in the space. Not everybody can be simple, like the star CS:GO player who is just really, really good, but he's also crazy. That our CEO coached him. Our CEO coached Team Liquid to the World Championships.
Oh man, get out of here!
Yeah, so he was the first one to bring a United States team to the World Finals in CS:GO. And CS:GO, when you look for talent in CS:GO, you go to Eastern Europe. You go, that's where you go. You go to Ukraine, you go to Russia, like those are the places. But those are the things we look at. And when you're going to be recruited by a larger organization, like esports organizations pick up teams in different games all the time, but you just got to make sure that you know what you're offering and it's skill, social following, engaged fan base, consistent content schedule. Those are some of the best things first to offer. Then when we look at like recruitment, you're going to want to be like an active user in their Discord communities. You're going to want to consistently ping and follow up decision makers who would be like on the recruitment side or on the coach side at those like larger organizations. And then you also want to constantly be sharpening your skills. So you want to be either participating at the professional level. There's like Knights Arena, there are other esports events and tournament platforms available. I'm not going to name them
because obviously they're not.
But you can go to those platforms and you can participate in their different tournaments and stand out in them. And then what you can also do if you're really good, you can go into those events and pull a highlight reel of your performance during those events, because a lot of these events are broadcasted on Twitch. So what you can do is you as the team can participate in the tournament, but then you can have one of your boys watching from home clipping cool stuff from it on Twitch, because Twitch is a clipper. If you have an account, you can clip some of the coolest stuff. Then if you're good like that and you want to give your friend like maybe like $20, you can have them like clip some of the coolest parts and the coolest caster shout outs, shouting out your team's awesome performance during those events. So there's a lot of different facets to esports recruitment, but that's probably where I'd start. Skill in the game, social following, making sure that you're honing in your skills and actively participating. And then, you can really go from there.
Yeah, it sounds like you really got to be in the gym, man. I mean, just like you would be with any other sport, you got to be in the gym. You got to have your highlight reel together. It really seems like it's pretty parallel with, other sports, you guys are looking for the best talent. You guys want to see exactly what you guys are working with. I know with the NFL, the NBA, they sit the people down. They want to talk to them one-on-one to see if they're a hothead, what kind of person they are. It really seems like kind of the same kind of steps of recruitment go pretty much the same in esports, pretty much as regular sports,
you put it perfectly. As far as like on the parallels between traditional sports and esports are
traditional sports,
insane. Like, it's insane. Like, I see the communication has to be a lot more concise. Like when I'm talking about esports, like, you have I'm talking like literal split second or millisecond decisions that will decide whether or not your team gets access to like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Whoa, wait a minute, Liam. Ho. Wait a second, brother. I wasn't going to ask specifics of Liam, but that kind of money. And I know it does vary. I know it varies different levels, I'm sure.
Based off of gaming title, it more so varies. Like, you look at Dota, and Dota 2 has like the highest prize pool right now. Who plays Dota? I don't know. I remember when Dota 2 used to be huge. I remember when they took I remember who is that one DJ that made the Dota song?
I have no idea, Liam.
You don't remember that? Shoot, I'm gonna find it right now. Hang on.
No, you're good, Liam.
Oh, Bass Hunter. That's it.
Okay, gotcha.
He was insanely awesome Dutch DJ, and he made a song about Dota, and it translates to I just want to keep playing Dota with my friends. And then they go out to a club for some reason. That's how club music is. But my biggest thing was when like Dota 2 was coming out and people were like itching for the release. And that was a while ago. So like, I don't know who played, but yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like,
right.
The pools of money that some of these guys have at their disposal, like, it's insane. Like the amount that is either sanctioned by the developers or the events companies. Like, some of our events, like, I swear to God, I look at some of the events that we do and they're doing like 10,000, 15,000, a month.
A month.
Yeah, so you've got multiple iterations of these tournaments with prizing. Like, it's honestly insane. But here's the thing: like, that is obviously it's split amongst the teams.
Absolutely,
and,
yeah.
Taxes. That's
sure.
Why you should form an LLC and
definitely.
That's why you should form an LLC. As any content creator should form an LLC, just to remove liability and also allow you to take more of the money in.
That's right.
But what yeah, dude, like, what you're dealing with, like, when we're going back to the parallels of esports and traditional sports, esports players, or as the media likes to call them, e-athletes, I hate that term, they like to, because it's not even a word. It's just, and how do you even pause between the two words? It's like, whatever. and they like to. Whatever.
I'm sorry. So, go ahead, brother. Go ahead, man.
You got. So esports athletes are making hundreds of actions per minute with their brains. Where you look at the regular person, they're making singular actions per minute. So you've got like you've got over 100 to 200% more cognitive decisions being made per minute within esports, and they're making more decisions than like chess players. Yeah. You know, so like when you look at like people that sit down, who do we gravitate towards? Okay, like in chess, they're making more decisions. No, it's esports players are making the most. They're one thing that I do think is lacking from the training side is that they'll overlook the sleep and the nutrition and the physical fitness. There is teams like FaZe used to, like, they would work out together like in the gym, and then they would also scrimmage together. Then you've got a lot of different European teams working out together. And they're investing in dietitians and chefs. You know, our Rainbow Six team, they have a full-time chef that works for them in their house. I don't know how they're paying for that, but
that's unreal right there, brother. That is unreal, man.
Yeah, I think I'm on the wrong side of this. But then you got what's like some other ones. This is a funny story. So back this is a weird story. So one of the biggest names in esports is Oxygen. Mm-hmm. So Oxygen Esports came to an event that we ran here in Pittsburgh called the Knights Forge. Now, we had a staff area where we were just like doing work and stuff like that. And I'm on my computer and I hear activity behind me, and I just thought they were like bringing food in, or so. I didn't know what I was thinking. So I look back, and it's all the entirety of the Oxygen Esports team, and they're all like shirtless and getting changed into their jerseys. They all had abs. Why did they all have visible abs? Like, I was like,
gym for real, Liam.
I was like, what? I'm like, I go to the gym. I go to the gym. Like, yeah, it's fine. But like, these guys all had like visible abs, so which means a lower, like a. What? I was so confused. I was like, what? These guys, I was like, oh, hey. And they're like, hey. And I'm like, all right. They looked at me like I was the weird guy. I was like, you guys came into a random room and started like getting changed. While there was someone in here, there's multiple bathrooms in this venue. Just go there. Why do you have to be here? But that's like another example of like there are certain teams and organizations investing in the physical work they got to do to make sure that the brain connectivity is going as fast as possible. You know, so but I think that we could do more. I think that there's more fitness and health and wellness and fitness brands that could be in the space and presenting their own solutions to gamers. You know, and I always tell people. I mean, I've got it right here. This is my treadmill.
Oh, I see that. I see it, man.
I always tell, and this is my walking desk. So this is my standing desk. Oh, so
man,
I have a walking desk set up whenever I it's probably why I suck at Helldivers so bad, because I'm walking the entire time I'm playing. But I always tell people, like, hold a plank while you're at a loading screen and walk while you're playing.
Yeah.
You know? So
for sure.
It's also really hard to play Batman Arkham Knight while you're walking. Dude, the Batmobile sections are so tough. Like, it's so bad.
Oh, man, a lot of people didn't like the Batmobile. It was overdone a little bit, but I tell you, Arkham Knight, man, that was my favorite one, brother. I enjoyed that one the most. Now, Gotham Knights, I actually have enjoyed that more than Dark. Hold on. What did I just call it? Not
Arkham Knight.
Arkham Knight.
You like the Gotham Knights?
Heck yeah, man! That game got a bad rap, Liam.
Yeah, I was behind that. I was one of the people hating on it. Yeah.
What?
That was me.
Hold on, Liam.
Dude, the only guy that's worth playing on there is Red Hood.
Oh, come on, Liam. What?
Oh, what? Did you give Robin a chance?
Yeah, I did, man. I was playing Robin, playing Batgirl. Man, I was enjoying
Robin
those
and Batgirl
characters.
Didn't even want to be in that game. Like, you look at that beginning section and they look... It's just so bad. Like,
I I love that game, man. It was incredible, brother. Love the story, the character development, the world, the open world of it. I thought it was awesome, Liam. I did, man.
Well, I mean, like, at least you didn't play Suicide Squad, so that's good.
Oh, come on, Liam. Don't tell me you have a problem with that one too, brother.
I just feel like they could have done Kevin Conroy a little bit more, like a little bit better with the script writing. I think like having him, like the concept of it is cool. It is cool. It's just, I just don't think that they had to pull it into the Arkham Knight universe. Like, I don't think that there was any need for that. I also feel like with Gotham Knights, like they rushed it. Like these are just my things about like both of it. Like I feel like as the Red Hood, you should have been able to play like Red Hood from the Arkham Knight DLC. Like you should have been able to have that kind of brutal combat. You should have had the option to just like, which also like getting pistol whipped in the face or getting punched in the face with a gun, like that hurts.
Hurts
so
bad.
I think we can all agree.
It happened to me, but I can imagine metal to any part of your body is gonna hurt, my brother. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And like you should have been able to just like play as the like so in a perfect world they would have each gotten their own game, but you can't keep all, or they would have all had the same ability to be their own characters as opposed to like, we had Tim Drake and he's just like, you got to tone down these bullets, and he's like, relax, and he's just like, okay, well then shoot me if you believe in him so bad. I'm like,
man, I'm gonna tell
I'm gonna barf.
Oh man, no, I loved it, man. I got to stand on that one, Liam. I loved it, brother. I did, but I understand though. Cool. I understand if you didn't like it though.
I'm for anything that brings Red Hood like into
some more
that's
attention.
One of my favorite.
Gotcha.
Yeah. He's got to be one of my favorites. So when Red Hood was in Injustice 2, it was just like, it's so cool because like there's all these like different moments with him and just how strong he is. Like there was one time when like Supergirl, I'm gonna nerd out for a second. This is when Supergirl, like she put her hand on his shoulder and she's like, "You're not going anywhere," and she's using like super strength to keep him there. And he's just like, "No, actually I am." And she's like, "How did he just do that?" You know? And it was just like, "Oh, what? Boom!" No. That's pretty much it.
Oh man, Liam, before I let you go, brother, I just got two more questions for you. Now I know the Knights Esports group. I was curious to know, Liam, you had brought up earlier that you guys do compete in Valorant. But are there?
We don't anymore.
Oh, you don't anymore? Okay.
No.
Okay.
So here's the thing: Riot, when they asked us to disband our Valorant team if we were going to run challengers and we were going to continue to act as an events and tournaments organizer.
Okay.
So currently, I don't know if this was your next question, but currently we participate in Rainbow Six Siege, iRacing, and we have a couple of influencers. I think we do iRacing and R6, and we do like a couple like Madden, I think. But those are our primary gaming titles that we participate in right now. I could be wrong. But.
No, that's perfect. That's what I was going to ask you. Were there any other genres of games esports games you guys actually participated in? So now you definitely answered my question. So I'm taking it. No fighting games at the moment. No fighting games.
No, wait. Yeah, that's it. We do have a fighting game player. Rewind. He's over on the West Coast.
Okay.
He's awesome. His next big game, which I'm very excited for, is going to be Project L. But he is a champion in Mortal Kombat and in Street Fighter. I'd recommend you guys check him out. He's really cool.
What's his name again?
Rewind.
Gotcha.
And there's no like, I'm going to spell it with a Y in place of the I. No, it's just literally Rewind.
It's Rewind, gotcha.
Because you know how gamers are. They're like, my gamer tag has to be a pint of a real word.
Oh, you know it, Liam. You already know, brother.
I'm like, can we just like speak English, please? Like,
oh man. Now, Liam, the other thing I wanted to ask you too. You guys are once again located in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Do you guys actually to get into you guys events? do you guys actually sell tickets, to have people come to the events and be able to show their support for you guys?
That's a great question. No, because pretty much everything is free. So the only thing that we charged tickets for was the Knights Forge, which is our in-person tournament, and tickets per day were like $10.
That's very reasonable.
That was literally it. But that's the cool thing with esports. Like a lot of these events and tournaments, they're free to play. They're free to watch. That's what I think that's allowed us to grow so much, and it's going to continue to let us grow because you just need to have a solid internet connection. You don't have to pay seven different. Let's talk about the NFL, like with the Super Bowl, or like there's so many different like Google searches you got to go through to find the right party in which how do I watch the game.
Right.
I'm watching it through Fox Sports this year, or I'm going to watch it through Amazon next year because Amazon is taking over everything. Or I have to watch it through my Disney Plus account.
Exactly.
But within esports, like I could just have it on Twitch. And that's where our Knights Arena is. It's on Twitch, which I love because everybody can come in and watch. We do post game press conferences using the Twitch chat. If people spam or regularly ask like a specific question, our casters will use that. So then people can participate from home. They can very easily look at the VODs and see what the pros are doing. So yeah, and even the stuff we do with the Steelers and the Pirates, like pretty much all that stuff is free. Like you can just come up to us, and if you want to, like we run these big gaming zones like at these like football games and stuff. If you want to come and play, just come and play. And I'll be there. I'll bring you in. Like I don't care. Like come get like a drawstring bag and hear me talk about it for 5 minutes, and then like that's it. Like that's literally
that's a win-win. That's a win-win, Liam.
Yeah.
So if someone was in Pittsburgh in your city and they did want to stop by, to show support, how would they go about doing that, Liam?
Yeah, so that it would have to coincide with some of the stuff that we do with the Steelers or the Penguins. So like,
gotcha.
Knights Forge last year was in September. Yeah, it was in September. So like we tried to do as much media around that as possible, so that if people were visiting, like they would know it was happening. One of the bigger things that we do with the Steelers is the draft day party. Everybody wants to come meet there, go out and show support for the new roster. Ribfest was like another big thing. We also have done this is really cool. We took the left field lounge at the Pirates Stadium and we ran a Rocket League tournament out of it. Right after was the Marlins game. So it was the Pirates gaming night, and then we spelt it night with art, like night KNI.
Oh, that's crazy.
It was so much fun because we had it was just such this crazy amalgamation of like so much. So we had like our Rocket League team was there doing show matches against players. We had people participating in the tournament, finding out who was going to be the best one, and they won like a bunch of prizes and stuff like that. Then we did photo shoots like all over the stadium. We got to bring our Rocket League team onto the field, which I thought was crazy. I didn't know we could get them. I didn't know that we were going to. That was going to happen.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
And then for all the parents that were bringing their kids, you could play, you could hang out, but then you could just walk to your seats. You could go, or you could just chill here in the lounge the entire time during the game, and you just want to have box seats at the game. We've done stuff like that. So like it would just have to coincide with like some of the stuff that we do with the Steelers, but jeez, if people listen to this podcast, reference it and like DM me on LinkedIn or Instagram, like I'll take you out. I don't care. I don't care. Like I'll do that.
No, it's very, very appreciated, Liam. I guess the last thing I would ask you is for someone out there, Liam, that really wants to be a part of the esports arena. Somebody that has really got their sights set on this, whether it be a racing game, fighting game, even a RTS, just any kind of genre. What would be some, I guess, advice, that you would give that person that is trying to get into this space?
So on the competitive side and the staff side, let's split this up. So on the competitive side, make sure that you know who your audience is and what your reach is as a content creator, because you want to be able to be in on interviews, and you want to be a really good public face for, if you're looking to get picked up by a team, you got to be able to be like the evangelical or the champion of that team. So just treat it as such. Make sure you understand who your audience is. Make sure you have an active engagement with your fans. Make sure you're like, being a really good content creator. Make sure that you're, one thing I see a lot of people do is that when they're pressed for content, they just document their journey. Whether it's going to be like day in the life videos on TikTok, or they're going to be making sure that they're regularly posting the highlights of their practices that they're running themselves. There's always something that you could be doing to grow that audience. Something that I've seen a lot of people also do is like, oh, I just have like a stockpile of all these really cool videos that are already edited and ready to post. But they just sat down over the course of a weekend and recorded a bunch of really good material, have the really good footage. This is something I learned from bodybuilding. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is something I learned from bodybuilding. They have what the bodybuilders do when they get to a certain level. They'll have pictures and videos. They'll collect a bunch when they're looking really good, or in the gym, and they'll have all that footage, and then they'll take clips from that and clips from other videos when they're looking good, and they'll use all that footage that's been collected over the course of like several weeks, and they'll post it like a few months out. So like your audience is constantly getting something fresh, but you on the back end, you used all like footage and stuff like that from way past. You just had it stockpiled and ready. So view like content creation and in gaming as such. If you have something really cool, but you want to make sure that you're keeping in line with your posting, and keeping regular posting, make sure you always just have something later on, so that if you can't get to recording something that day, you have something. So preparation is key. Going there, working on your skills in the game is key, and consistently following up with the different teams that you want to be a part of, and being an active member. You don't have to be a super fan, because one thing I learned from the traditional sports side is that they don't really hire super fans of their organization. It is a little bit different within esports, but within that's something that I hear all the time. But within esports, you don't have to be a super fan, but you definitely want to make sure that they know, like, hey, I'd love to work with you guys and be this player, this player, this player. So I'd also make sure you have like all of your social media consistently ready. So that's going to be, you're regularly posting on your TikTok, your YouTube, long form and short form with the YouTube Shorts, your Instagram, pictures, and reels. You're regularly posting on Twitter. You have everything. You're bringing everything up, rather than just depending on one singular platform. Because what if that account gets shut down?
Very true.
Like you got to be able to update your fans on your other platforms, but like, what if they don't follow you on those other platforms? So that's from the content creator and competitive side. Really just having stuff consistently locked down, and understand that there's always something that you could be doing. Also, if I can inspire the next generation, like with something, make sure that you don't overlook the basics. So your nutrition, your fitness, that has to be of focus if you are going to be not just succeed, but survive. So what a lot of people do is that in anticipation for a competition, they're going to overlook sleep, pull multiple all-nighters leading up to a competition to make sure that their skills are primed and ready. Newsflash, that's going to hurt you in the long run.
Most certainly.
I think most people are coming to that reality, but not a lot of people understand that. So if I can recommend, making sure you're exercising, making sure that you're, editing your videos on a walking desk. I will tell you, yes, the only reason I'm taking this call sitting down is because if we were standing up, I would be moving around way too much. But I take most of my calls standing up, and every time I'm not on a call, I'm walking on this desk. So yesterday I was at whatever. I just would recommend that you take a look at your internal before you also focus on the external. So make sure everything there is locked down for a content creator. Then on the staff side, make sure you have down your skill sets. So make sure you understand what you can offer the brand. One thing I can also tell you is that there are a lot of places hiring, but they're not posting that they're hiring. So, one corrupt thing I will see of different companies that are that a lot of companies are doing is that they'll just keep job postings up, and then they'll just take in all of the resumes that they've collected, and they'll create a database of those resumes, and then they'll just they won't actually hire any of those people. They'll just use it to inform themselves of what the pool of applicants looks like right now. So watch out for that. But make sure that you have your list of different esports organizations. Make sure that you understand who you're applying to, what you're applying for, and make sure that again, you want to have a wide skill set. Right now, a lot of esports teams are downsizing to have a lean team members. I'll tell you, us, we're a team of 30 people. We've done a lot with very little. Everybody wears multiple different hats. I'm helping with presentations for pitches that I'm not even going to be on. Wow. I help on our events. I help with our content. We just had a huge charity thing where we were our partners came with us, and we donated a bunch of stuff for school supplies for this charity that donates free school supplies to teachers. Where all the schools that it's almost 200 schools or something like that in PA, but all of those schools have one thing in common: 75% of their students are below the poverty line. So I was there. I was there front facing. I met everybody, but I was in the video, and I was the one doing all the talking. For sure. So I'm on every side. Be ready to wear multiple hats when you go into these organizations. And another thing is that be ready to sell yourself, and be ready to understand yourself so that other people can understand you. We've had enough of these nervous, introverted types of people applying into any market. Be confident in your own skills, and be ready to discuss those maybe certain pain points in your skill set, understanding your weaknesses as someone, make sure that when you go through those different interviews for different positions, make sure you understand yourself, and be confident in your skills and abilities. And consistent follow-ups, consistently following up with people, making sure you write thank you emails, and if you can find their address, send them thank you letters and stuff like that. All those things to not only set you up for success in the future, because I've seen people get denied and then they get hired a few weeks later because they kept that lead warm. They kept it warm. They were consistently okay, listen, if you have any spots opening up, please let me know. You guys are a great team. I'd love to work with you. Okay, boom. Well, we don't have anything right now. It's okay, well, no worries. Follow up a few weeks later. Oh, we actually have something.
Man,
so if again, just follow that. Just follow that passion. And of course we're talking about esports right now, but if it's in something else, go follow it. There's too much opportunity, and there's too many success stories in every stage where they're right place, wrong time, wrong place, right time, pure dumb luck, preparation for months and months, but nothing was working until this thing. I had this great idea, but I couldn't find any investors. There's too many good success stories for people of all different ages. There's people that found success in creating e-commerce stores when they were 16, and then they all failed, and now they're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. But then they found this other thing. Then there's people in their 40s look at Samuel L. Jackson, for God's sakes. He didn't get his first role until he was old.
Man, incredible, man.
Pulp Fiction, he was old.
He was definitely up there. He was up there. He was up there in a movie. I don't know if you saw it. It was called Juice with Tupac Shakur and a couple of other actors, Omar Epps. And he was in that, and he looked like he had to be about 50-something years old. That's not old, but I'm saying to be getting a start at that age in your 30s or 40s, to be just starting something. But I think Samuel was probably in his 40s.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure.
Denzel Washington had a really, really, really good speech where he's so I didn't get the audition, so I prepped for the next one.
That's right.
I prepped for the next one.
Yep.
So it's just taking into account we always have to toe this balance between like, oh, it's going to work out in the end, you just need to stick to it, or between that and, oh, like I need to divert my efforts towards something else that's going to be like work out in the end. But within both of those, there is that calculated approach. That's the commonality between both of them. So evaluate the dream, make sure that it can indeed become a reality. Use any kind of research that you can to evaluate it, and then move forward with it and make it work. So that's kind of like my recruitment spiel for going into esports and really just in general.
I appreciate it, Liam. Liam, listen, before I let you go, brother, again, thank you so much for your time. This has been absolutely incredible. But please let the people know that are listening to this where they can not only find you, Liam, but also the Knights Esports group, please.
Yeah. So if you just want to find our website, it's just knights.gg. On multiple different platforms. That they have all of our social media, like just linked there at the top, like right hand corner or the lower right hand corner of the page. So you can either go there, check out the Knights Arena on Twitch, and we'll be we're going to get the Valorant Challengers League coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm very excited for that. And then as far as me, you can just look up Liam Brown Knights on LinkedIn, and I'm like the first guy that comes up. I'm like the first guy that comes up. So either there, or if you go to the Knights content, I'm in. If you scroll down a little bit, I'm in some of the posts, so you can find me. But yeah, no, this is a really, really great talk. I feel like we were able to cover everything that at least I wanted to cover. So
that's awesome, Liam. That's awesome, man. So hey, again, Liam, thank you again for your time. Listeners, if you do want to leave your thoughts and, opinions about the conversation that me and Mr. Liam Brown had today, you can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-380-0281 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is simply theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank you guys for listening. Again, Liam, thank you again so much for coming out. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, the pleasure was all mine, brother. So with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, get out there, play some games, and enjoy yourself. Until the next time, you guys take care. Bye-bye.